What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Reborn, episode 16. And it's been a crazy week, personally and politically, and in all other areas. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, but we're gonna have to keep this show short because I actually have something that came up. Unfortunately, people always ruining plans, but that's how it goes. And then I forget to mute my fucking phone, and this idiot's talking about football. I don't care about football. It's off season. I really don't.
So your phone is making that kind of noise?
That bling noise, yeah, that's somebody sending me a hangout message, oddly enough.
Good shit.
Yeah, so he's raving and ranting about the Dallas Cowboys, and who gives a fuck about that team? Honestly. Jeez. Anyway, so where do we start? Because there's a lot that has gone on in this week and a half since the last show. Jeez. And also, there will be a special announcement at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. But let's see. So we had the memo fail, of course. And then, of course, when the Democrats decided, well, can you let us show our memo, which was a 10-page long memo versus the 4-page long memo that did nothing but basically help make the case as to why they should have done a Russian investigation. I found it very weird that it's like the biggest thing they had to talk about was that guy, Michael Steele.
Yeah, it was Steele's dossier, and
yeah,
he's biased. He's this, he's that. He should have been investigating Page.
But it's like they also had in there, and yeah, the reason why it started was because Papadopoulos was going around bragging at parties about his Russian connections and the weight he has with them. Like, okay, so what the hell did you do? You just basically put the guy who is in the biggest trouble. You just confirmed why this guy said he could be basically pled guilty because he knows he did something. So good job.
Yeah.
Good job. But of course, Trump blocked that because we can't be having no counterintelligence and all of that.
The blatant fuckery with this dude. Really? I feel like so much has gone on in the week that we haven't talked enough about the fact that he just said fuck off to the Democrat memo and let that piece of garbage Nunes memo come out. Like, come on, there's bias, and then there's what the fuck he's doing. That's out of control.
Yeah, no, it's clearly he knows that his shit was gonna get shut down. So why would he even bother? It's not gonna look good on him. So speaking of stuff that didn't look good on him, so Mr. Porter, one of Trump's highest aides, what's his first name? Is it Rich Porter?
It was Robert.
Robert Porter, that's what it is. Robert Porter was let go, basically. He resigned, I think they said, amongst allegations of physical, domestic abuse.
Punch that woman in the face, bruh.
Yo, the black eye is just wow. Like it wasn't just a little black eye. It was like a serious like black eye. She couldn't, makeup wasn't gonna hide that at all.
Dragging him out of showers to yell at him when he's angry, all this crazy shit.
Yeah, and so that's been the big controversy because that's been one of the big controversies, I say. It's always more than one. You know, it's
even that one has like a 2-part controversy. One part is you have this woman-beaten dude in the White House when you have Trump who never seems to be able to, stand up against domestic violence. And the other part is his level of security access, which, he never got cleared, right? He never got a clearance.
There are currently multiple people that are in key positions in the White House that cannot get the security clearance to do their jobs effectively because they come from backgrounds in which they've had certain ties with other countries and in business dealings that prove, that keeps them from being allowed these things and makes it harder for them to get them. In fact, Robert Porter, they said that 9 times out of 10 was never going to get the security clearance for the position that he holds because of all the things that he's done in his business life. So, yeah. So you find out that basically you have a bunch of people sifting around major government documents, knowing like the secretive inner workings of the United States government who aren't secured, aren't cleared by the federal government to even be handling those things. And so it makes you see, kind of realize just why this administration is so fucked up, because nobody could effectively do their jobs. They either are handling things they shouldn't be, or they can't get access to things that they should have access to. So it exposed that. It also exposed John Kelly, because John Kelly came out and just like wholeheartedly defended this guy. And then you find out all the allegations, all the things, and including the fact that the church, encouraged the women not to leave the marriages because of this guy beating their asses. And it's just like, wow, you guys, yeah, I know, right? Get it. Yeah, I again, I'm not like dead set against the idea of religion, but let's be honest, religion is has such a fucked up way of viewing things.
I am, but the point I was making there was not just my usual atheist,
Oh no, I know what you're saying.
Why the fuck are religious leaders considered authority figures on anything? They have no real training to do much. I mean, I'm sure some of them must have some level of counseling training, but they're not uniquely qualified to do anything. So
you'd be surprised that a lot of them aren't necessarily trained to counsel. It's not a part of like a lot of their upbringing. I mean, especially I could say in the Black church, because let's be honest, it's not like many Black preachers are going through theology school. I actually know someone who is ordained, who actually went through theology school, and that was a part of his schooling. So he actually has been trained to counsel people, not just on the religious aspect, but just to be able to counsel people, because he had to learn that stuff. He had to learn sociology and psychology and learn counseling things so he could actually be a real counselor. But most religious leaders, it's just that they just feel like because they have the word, I should be able to teach you how to, live your life, run your marriage.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, you made a point. We have a lot of people up in the White House who are security risks in themselves, and all those people who were complaining about Hillary's irresponsible behavior with that server, I want to know where the fuck they are now with this situation.
Yeah, because let's be like, not to just be pro Hillary, because I think that she probably shouldn't have been doing that anyway. But
no, I agree. I criticized that when she did it. So.
Yeah, but let's be honest, we still don't know what the fuck is on that server. So clearly, she was secure about it. Clearly, she knew she only sent it to certain people who probably had the security clearance for it. She may have been dumb in having her own private thing, but she probably, if you probably were able to dig into it, probably nobody who shouldn't see those things didn't see those things because she understands security levels.
Yep, it's just a certain level of hypocrisy there. You're sounding kind of robot-y, so you might want to address your audio, but this, to your point, I'm not being prohibited on that. It's just the level of vitriol you saw when we were talking about how irresponsible she was, and you have a president who doesn't seem to give a shit about security clearances, and on top of that, the way the narrative just kept shifting around this Porter situation. Well, we didn't know about it. Well, the FBI didn't tell us. Well, they told us, but it didn't get through the whatever section of the White House Sarah Sanders was trying to put that shit on. Just every time they get caught in a lie, they just shift the lie a little bit in another direction to see if they could make it work for them. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's kind of sad that they do this, but You got amateurs. You have fucking rank amateurs in the office who don't know what the hell they're doing from a political standpoint. They're making key decisions that affect people's lives. And it's just asinine. Another story that I found interesting, which relates to science, which
Before you go, you're still sounding kind of robot-y there.
Yeah, I figure it's gonna clear up in a second because I just shut down a lot of crazy stuff.
Okay.
I'm not sure why.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed as we get through this. Apologies to anybody listening because I'm trying to do this also on a short schedule. But another thing that I noticed was they were saying how water levels, sea levels are rising, and how science is proving again that this global warming thing is, kind of fucking up the planet. Whereas we have an administration that ignores everything scientific that leads to the point that we need to do something to fix things. In fact, this guy just wanted to put through a bill that was going to, for his transport bill, which kind of relates to it. Part of the transport bill is to reinvest in things like the oil pipeline and things like that that are causing ecological damage. But he doesn't want to address the erosion of the coastlines, things like that. And he wants to spend $1.5 billion on this stuff. And not only that, he wants to put the cost to states. How his plan to pay for this is to have the states pay for that. Since we pay less taxes now federally, guess what? Now we're going to pay more state taxes because we got to have roads, right?
Indeed. And this is the consequence when you have a president who doesn't believe in global climate change, who doesn't care about the environment. A lot of people treat that issue like it doesn't matter where a politician stands on it. It matters a lot because, as you see, it affects their policy. He doesn't give a shit about the environment, so he's perfectly fine sacrificing it for more money or whatever his reasoning is, I suppose.
He has no reason. In fact, the whole plan makes no sense to me because, again, you want to spend $1.5 billion, which will significantly raise the debt. All right, so it is for a worthy cause because we do need a better road infrastructure. That being said, you can't expect states to come up with this miracle money. States are struggling themselves to fix their own roads. So now you want the federal infrastructure plan to be buoyed on the state as well?
Yeah, I don't know what to say there. It's I think the reason we don't pay for it at the state level is like you said, they can't afford it. That's already been shown. That's why we paid for it more at the federal level in the first place. This is yet more stupidity that I'm sure some people in this camp are celebrating. But I really wonder how the rest of his Republican base, like the true conservatives, really feel about that type of shit.
Yeah, because their whole thing was we spend too much money. The government spends too much money. Yeah, what is he doing? He's spending more money.
Yeah, it's a fucking thing to behold. Let's see. What's it that got up during that meeting? Was it Rand Paul? At least he stood up for being truly conservative. He really went after Congress, or whatever, for all of this spending in that new agreement they made. He's like one of the few that is actually fiscally conservative in the sense that, I don't want to spend all this money, can't keep raising the deficit, all this shit. The rest of them don't seem to give a fuck, which is shocking to me.
Yeah. We're the worst. We're like that person who just I hate to use this, but it's just like that person who lives in the hood who has a Lexus. Can't afford to get out of your mama's basement, but you can afford a Lexus. It's that mentality that I just don't get, and I'm baffled by. by these people. It's a very, very weird thing. Speaking of baffling, we had a conversation about this because this really, really confused me. So the number 3 person in the Department of Justice, let me see, what's her name?
Damn, I can't remember.
Rachel Brand.
Yeah.
Rachel Brand decided to resign under the rumors that she was going to get a promotion. Question mark? So basically, the story is that the talk around Rosenstein, who President Trump has a hard on for initiating the Mueller investigation, is that Trump's trying to figure a way to get him out of the picture completely. And one of the ideas was to raise Rachel Brand up to the number 2 position and replace him in the Department of Justice. She got wind of this and she decided to go job hunting. So much so that she made a deal months ago to leave a federal position at the top of one of the major chains of government to go work for Walmart.
I mean, can you blame her? that entire situation is a giant clusterfuck right now.
I don't blame her, but it's just like you have people quitting, and she's not the only person to quit. There have been several other people who they said in certain positions that have quit in recent history, in recent months, from the Department of Justice and from the FBI specifically, because they're sick of the whole situation with the investigation, with how things are being handled, how the FBI is being under attack, and how they're being, having some of their duties curtailed, and the whole thing, like with the FISA thing being put out there, stuff like that. They feel compromised. They feel like this administration is just making it so they cannot do their job correctly. So you have a lot of key positions within the FBI and within the Department of Justice that still have not been filled. In fact, 4 of the 13 divisions overseen by the Associate Attorney General remain unfilled, including the Civil Rights Division and Civil Division, 1 year into the Trump administration, to quote the article that I had. So you have major divisions that have nobody working it.
Yeah, and this is a reminder, this is the same guy who said, we hire the best people. You almost hire nobody, and the few people you do hire fail and get kicked out or leave. So I don't know if there's ever been anybody worse at hiring people at this point.
He just does not make wise choices in life. But he's been kind of put up there to do that because look at the people he surrounds him with. Nothing but yes men. Nothing but people who are willing to take bullets for him for the stupidest reason. All of that. In fact, I remember seeing an article earlier this week where they were saying how Ben Carson is like the House cabinet member who nobody knows what the hell is doing because you never hear anything. You never see him do anything. It's like, what is he doing at housing and urban development? He's just filling his seat.
It's a good question. So you just said when you said his name, immediately I started thinking what has that motherfucker been doing before you even brought that up?
Yeah, no. The whole article was just basically talking about how it's been basically just him seat warming for the most part. But you got to think, even that department is fucked up because who's his number 2? It's a goddamn wedding planner. So you have a neurosurgeon and a wedding planner running housing and urban development.
I would feel like that's a little misleading because, yes, he was a neurosurgeon, but I feel like that might lead people to think he's smarter than he really is.
He's good at what he does. Again, he's an idiot savant, in my opinion.
Hey, look who sounds clear again.
Yeah, I figured it would correct itself after.
But yeah, I just think
interwebs.
The connotation of neurosurgeon would mislead people because they'd be like, well, at least he's super smart. Like only this one narrow area.
He knows how to fix your brain. That doesn't necessarily mean that his brain is fully functional itself. Okay? It doesn't make him super smart because he knows how to. Again, I know how to put together a PC. That don't mean that I should run Dell. You know what I mean? it's not. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. He's qualified medically. If you wanted to make him, Surgeon General, I would have bought that. I would have actually bought him as Surgeon General.
I still would have been hesitant, but
I would have too, because his campaign just made him look like a fucking idiot.
But at least it would be a placement that makes some kind of sense. This is Trump he has his people and he's just going to give them jobs, surround himself with loyalists. First of all, that's this autocrat shit. That's not a good thing that the president just surrounds himself with random motherfuckers who kiss his ass all the time. It's a weird state there.
No, it's dumb.
So I get distracted. I was thinking about the fact that this is in the news. Well, more in the news again, the Stormy Daniels situation.
Which is a perfect example of like having people to take a bullet. Go ahead and set the tail because I know I'm not going to be able to get it out because that just brings me.
So, as people probably know, originally the story came out that Trump apparently fucked this prostitute named Stormy Daniels, whose real name I can't remember. We should check out her filmography sometime.
Hey, let's be fair. She was a porn star. Okay, sir.
Did I not call her a porn star?
You called her a prostitute.
I apologize.
Technically, she is, though, since if she took the money with the sex.
Nope. I apologize. I was wrong. See? People can be wrong at times.
Oh, my God.
My bad.
Taking responsibility. Gee, that's rare.
Mr. Megas was correct to correct me. She was a porn star. So apparently he had sex with her back when that kid was born, his latest son in the army of Trump. Yes, which is
setting him up for his life as the next dictator.
Poor sweet child. But yes, he had sex with her while around the time his wife gave birth to that kid and paid her off about $130K, allegedly. And this was in the news for a little bit. It was kind of getting muffled by a bunch of other fiascos throughout the White House, but this has been a thing for the last few weeks. Something that has been denied, something Stormy Daniels herself hasn't commented on, presumably because she signed some sort of agreement not to talk about it. As part of that payment was done through Mr. Cohen, I believe, his lawyer.
Yeah, so his lawyer, Michael Cohen, decides to come out through the midst of all the talk of this because now people are starting to get to the point where they're thinking, was this a political payment during the campaign and shit have been done? Because if that is true, then Trump basically used campaign money that he didn't give notification on, which means that he misappropriated campaign funding, which would be another crime.
Yeah, I was going to say it's illegal.
Yeah, misappropriated. So his lawyer for a long time decides to come out and say the most baffling thing, which one, he pretty much told us, yeah, he fucked her. And two, told us, yeah, she was paid off to keep quiet during the campaign. So this dumb motherfucker comes out and tells everybody he paid her out of his personal pocket to be quiet, and she signed a no disclosure agreement in 2016, right around the campaign. He said he spent his own money. Trump didn't have anything to do with it, and he wouldn't answer whether or not he was reimbursed for his expense. Not only that, he goes on to say how he did it because even a story that's not true could be harmful to a campaign.
So I'm not sure how even accurate this idea is that he paid with his own money is, because first of all, it was paid through a company. I want to say it might have been owned by Trump. It was like some company they put up just to make this payment, it seemed like.
Yeah.
So it was not like literally personal funds. It was paid through that company, so that's a little misleading to say it came out of his pocket. And, you know, secondly, he's paid by Trump. So, I mean, all of his money is kind of Trump's money. And he's not just by Trump, but he's paid by the Trump Foundation or whatever. So, you know, come the fuck on.
Yeah, it's like you're going to get your money back either way. Yeah.
But his argument that, you know, I paid her, Trump had nothing to do with this, wasn't reimbursed, blah, blah, blah. That is stupid. I mean, because then the question still remains, why did you pay her? Obviously for a reason, right? Because he fucked her and didn't want you to talk about it. So, I don't know. It reminds me of when Donald Trump Jr., you know, was being accused of talking to the Russians or whatever. So he just let these emails out to the news, which showed that he was in fact talking to them. Like, completely unprovoked mistakes.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And this is not the way that we should be talking about a presidency. What's the worst scandal that I heard as a kid? The worst scandal that came out may have been, I don't even think this was during his presidency. I actually think this happened after Ronald Reagan's presidency. The rumors that Nancy Reagan had an affair with Frank Sinatra. That was probably the biggest thing. Now, granted, this is something that happened, like, if it did happen during his presidency, it happened near the end. So it wasn't like, you know, there was any way that it could have impacted his presidency. It kind of was treated more as a joke. Like, it was one of the better of Saturday Night Live skits I've ever seen. If you've never seen it, look up the Nancy Reagan, Frank Sinatra Saturday SNL skit. That shit is hilarious. But this guy has had some serious issues with women, with race, with religion, with science, ecology, economy. I'm kind of running out of terms because
if you can name it as a category or something, chances are he's wrong in it every time.
He's put his foot way up into his mouth about it, and it's just fucking ridiculous. It should not be that way.
Yes, and then it's crazy that there's a lot more important stuff than this Stormy Daniels thing is going on, and that's insane that we can't even really talk about this shit because it's on the totem pole. It's pretty low compared to all the other stuff. Good fucking God.
Yeah, because
we had talked about Porter a little bit ago, right?
Yeah, we talked about Porter.
So,
what did we miss?
Trump was, you know, accused of not saying anything. First of all, he was accused of sucking this Porter guy's dick, essentially. Like, he just piled praise upon the guy no matter what the media said about him. You know, we're sad to see him go. He did a great job, blah, blah, blah. And he never said anything about, you know, the victims of the assault, the alleged assault, I guess. And the media has been crucifying him for that for a while now. And he just completely refuses to say anything about them, show any compassion toward those victims. And no matter what anybody says, he just stubbornly seems to refuse to do it. And this has been a pattern with him, obviously. Like, he never seems to be willing to acknowledge the victims in these cases. And yet you have Sarah Sanders out here.
Yeah, I need her. Seriously. I need that woman to go somewhere. It's funny because we used to make fun out of Sean Spicer for how he used to go hard at the media and try to deflect things. Sean Spicer was not as maniacal as this woman. This woman is like abusive. She tries to be a bully. She's over the top abrasive. She's dismissive. She's disingenuous. And you know, she's just a bitch.
Ooh, snap. Pretty much, yeah. She's
if for no reason. She doesn't have to behave that way. There's no, I repeat, no reason for her to have to behave that way in the press. I mean,
he's part of the Trump kingdom. Of course, she's gonna behave that way. This is the same guy who said shit like, you know, we should beat up and lock up the press and all this. Like all this shit he said about the press. Like, this is exactly the type of person I would expect him to send out there. And this is exactly the type of shit I would expect her to say, just based on his own relationship with the press. But I bring that up because with her and Spicer a little bit, but especially with her, it's like reality just doesn't fucking matter. She started making this big argument that, you know, when the press would ask her, why won't the president say anything about these victims and domestic assault and all this shit? Her argument is, I speak on behalf of the president and I'm saying it. He said it. He speaks through me. Done. Like,
yo, like
I'm not even doing the argument she did justice. Like, it was the most
and that's the thing that bothers me the most about her. It's like she has this weird thing. It's a religious term. Have you ever heard of the Metatron?
No.
The Metatron is basically the voice of God. The voice of God is supposed to be this, like, I guess, kind of the Metatron is like this angel that whenever people say they spoke to God, that's who they're actually talking to, because God's voice wouldn't be able to be interpreted by human beings. So if you've ever had a conversation with God or spoke to him in a dream, it's the Metatron that speaks to you. I feel like she thinks like she's his Metatron. Like whatever she says is actually what his word is. And it's just like, no, it's not. We know what you're doing here. You're here as a piece to deflect things. And you do, I have to admit, sort of a decent enough job, because you make people angry, so mad at you that sometimes they forget that they should be mad at Trump because they can't believe the shit that's coming out your mouth sometimes. So, but yeah, I really believe that she thinks that she is like the voice of the administration, the White House, of the government. And she's out of control.
The fact that she made that argument with a straight face, I was like, so all intellectual integrity in this country is just fucking gone, right? Because I'm sorry, there is no way to justify the argument she was making. It was one of the stupidest things I've ever heard her say. And she just latched onto it like it was a knockdown argument. And she just didn't seem to understand why the reporters kept asking her, you know, about Trump's lack of response. But she's like, I already told you, I speak for the president. Why aren't you guys listening? Because it was a stupid argument. And they shouldn't have to explain to you why it's stupid. That is insane. She not just her, the administration in general, but more and more you see that reality just doesn't fucking matter with them. Even just the idea that she speaks for the president. Have we ever had a president that speaks this much for himself all the time? This dude is on Twitter at all hours of the night. He's constantly up in front of cameras. He's constantly doing his little rallies. He talks for himself all the time. And the shit that he says obviously does not coincide with what you're saying. He is always speaking for himself. What are you talking about?
What I find interesting that he never checks her. Being the type of person that he is, who always wants to be under the guise that he is the top guy, he's in control, no matter what, it's because of him and nobody else. I don't know why I haven't really ever heard him say, she's out of her fucking mind. I speak for myself. I'm an adult. You know what I mean? Like, why hasn't his childish mind gone in that direction with her? Or maybe he just likes watching her make a fool of herself. Maybe that's like entertaining to him.
Maybe it's because she's a woman. I don't know. I mean, he seemed to lose his shit a few weeks ago. It might have been Kelly when he said Trump's ideas have evolved on the whole wall. And he was like, no, the fuck they haven't. It's a big, beautiful wall.
Him and Kelly have gone to blows a couple of times over Kelly saying something and then Trump correcting him and saying, no, that's not what I feel. And that's not what I meant. how is it that she's able to get away with this? I mean, maybe it is that whole, oh, well, she's a woman, so, women will say anything. Maybe that's his mentality.
And I hate to jump to the sexist explanation, but I really don't understand it any other reason. Maybe somebody out there has an explanation for it. I don't, because he's generally pretty pissy when people do that sort of thing. So, but she does it all the time, and God bless her. I mean, how can you get away with making arguments that stupid?
Yeah, no, she's a fucking moron. And I hate people making fun of her, but at the same time, I don't blame them for doing the Uncle Fester pictures and stuff like that, because she's made herself such a unpleasant entity that she kind of brings it on herself. It's just like, say what you will about Sean Spicer, the stuff that they did to make fun of him. It may have been like less warranted than anything they've done to her, because she seems to in fact, I feel like she revels in the fact that she can get people to go that much. I really do. I really feel like she's like sadistically enjoying herself being the biggest asshole in the world.
I tend to try to avoid watching her for extended periods of time, because it just, and it occurred to me, I think somebody on the news was bringing this up, that they lie and speak falsehoods and ignore reality so much that it's almost a complete waste of time to even listen to them, because they're never going to say anything useful. They're rarely going to say anything truthful. I mean, that's a depressing thing to say, but the White House lies so much right now that they're barely worth listening to, other than just to know what kind of crazy shit is going through their heads. You can't get anything useful out of them ever.
Yeah, no, it's just maddening. Is there any other major stories that we forgot before we get into what happened yesterday? I'm sure there's a million. I know the Dow did continue to go down a bit. It seems to be rebounding a little, I guess.
I'm sure there was shit.
I mean,
there's just so much nowadays. It's not the real Olympics, though.
I like that. It's not the real Olympics. It's funny, but that's how people view the Winter Olympics. It's just like, it's not the real Olympics.
I'm not trying to shit on those athletes, but you should just try to make it work during the regular Olympics. We feel like your Olympic warm-ups, like nobody's really paying attention. Sorry.
I'd actually do watch, because there are certain things that I like watching. Like, I have a weird obsession with curling. It's like, I have no idea what the fuck you're doing, but for some reason, this interests me. It's like a weird fucking game of ice backgammon that makes no sense.
Sorry.
No. It just really I sat there the other night for about an hour and a half watching Canada versus was it Norway? Yeah, or something like that. And all they're doing is just sliding on the ice and sliding these stones across ice and sweeping them to make them go faster or slower. Like, okay, yeah, but I was all in it. I don't know why. Of course, I watched the sexual harassment win his gold medal. So congratulations to all sexual harassment. His press conference was interesting too, because he quote unquote got blindsided by a question where someone asked him about the sexual harassment thing. And he said that he doesn't really like to respond to gossip, and then he realized he just called the situation gossip, and then he apologized for calling it gossip. And then the whole US Olympic Committee was there, and they were like, no, we're not going to address this anymore. He's already addressed it. And he was like, yeah, I already addressed it. And the guy tried to ask a follow-up question, like, nope, if you don't have any questions that don't relate to that, then don't ask any more. You can't ask any more questions. And they just basically shut this guy down from having that conversation about his upcoming trial for sexually harassing a bandmate.
Yeah, good shit.
Yeah, Adam Rippon has also been great, because he's been going after Pence constantly. He's just like flouting his like homosexuality and just like throwing it in his face as much as possible. Like, yeah, I'm gay. What?
And this guy cannot even address that properly. Like,
nope.
I mean, I don't know how you would properly address supporting gay conversion therapy, but there you go. It was that asshole that dragged the flag on the ground.
Oh, the same guy, the sexual harasser.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so he had two like problems yesterday. He got in trouble because he dragged the flag, and then all the people were up in arms because it's unpatriotic and all that. And it was like, I wasn't intentionally trying to do that shit. I was just like celebrating, and it hit the ground.
This guy's an asshole. You could at least treat the flag with more respect than you treat women, you douchebag.
Exactly. Like, we don't care if we'll put you on all the commercials you want, as long as if you want to be with women. But
yeah.
I'm gonna need you to calm down on the flag thing, sir.
And right before we hop onto what happened yesterday, it is worth saying that we still have this issue with Russia fucking around with our democratic process and the administration not giving a shit about it, never addressing it. That's just worth throwing out there, that they refuse to deal with sanctions on them. They refuse to even acknowledge that Russia's doing anything. If you're patriotic, that should be incredibly worrisome that Russia can, slap us and then we just kind of don't even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Please, that's not worth discussing, sir. Why should we even care about things like that?
God, I wonder where this fucking Mueller guy is right now.
Batman is currently in the Batcave going through the evidence.
I mean, like where he is in his investigation, like he's.
Yeah, I feel like the next thing that you hear from him, because like he's letting this memo thing go because he needs it's like good. It's basically Batman just dropped the smoke pellet and like the criminals are looking around for him to find out where he is as he skulks through there, like plotting when he's gonna pounce on them. This is what's happening right now. So he's letting this fucking Nunez guy give him enough cover to be like, yep, go ahead. Expose my investigation. And I feel like within the next couple of weeks, you're going to hear like something extremely huge. And I feel like it's going to involve Trump. And this is going to, next thing's going to be, so you still want to talk, right? And then Trump's going to be like, so about that. I just feel like he's just going to like, I just feel like the Joker's going to be dropped in front of Arkham Asylum in any second now.
I really should. But yeah, there's.
Speaking of comic books, are you going to see Black Panther this weekend?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Do you have a Black Panther t-shirt?
No.
Oh, that sucks. I'm waiting for mine to come. It should arrive tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll get it before I go.
Look, man, I'm just focused on avoiding all spoilers because I don't trust these motherfuckers out here.
Yeah, no, I'm staying off Twitter because the movie's been out since 10:30 this morning here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know there's some people who took off and went to see it. Fuck you if you say anything. If you do, I will hunt you down and your kids.
I should have taken off work. I'm so fucking stupid.
I will be like Killmonger.
My manager joked about spoiling the movie for me, and I told him, like, straight up, if he did that, I would quit my job. I looked him dead in the eye. And
call in sick. Call in fucking sick. Be like, nah, I'm working from home today. Fuck you. You're not gonna end me. But
yeah. I might this shit. And I'm glad you brought that up because it's a ray of sunshine in this fucked up crazy world.
Yeah, I get to see a great movie. I guess we have another interruption coming soon because don't Civil War come out soon? I mean, not Civil War. Infinity War come out soon.
Couple of months, I think.
Yeah, so we'll get that respite before the parade, right? Because he wants to parade on Memorial Day. Yeah, so we'll celebrate Infinity War, and then we can celebrate Trump's parade. God damn it! This motherfucker.
Look at these countless scandals, and if you couldn't even imagine this a couple of years ago. Oh my god! somebody needs to make like a nice visual display of some kind, just with points of each one of these scandals. So I think if you saw them all laid out over the year, it would be more shocking.
Yeah, because again, biggest scandal probably in the Obama White House. He wore tan suit.
Yes.
The fuck? Like, God damn it. Y'all still think that guy was bad for this country. Okay. All right. So
they had their painting.
Yeah, their painting.
Their official paintings came out. I thought they sucked. Sorry, guys, but they're there.
Yeah, I mean, they're okay. It's not the paintings I would have picked, but
they suck.
I got what he was trying to do, though, because I understood the style that they were going for. They were going for more vintage African American art style. So
yep, that style sucks. I don't hate them, and they're not like the worst paintings I ever saw in my life. I'm just not as excited as so many other people about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was just more like amused by his speech that he gave, where he talked about his wife's hotness,
capturing her hotness. I was like, this guy,
and then thanking his mother-in-law for giving her the hotness G's. Like, even if you get divorced, this man is going to every Thanksgiving dinner. His mama throws. Barry is a family. Barry is like never going to be denied by his mother-in-law ever. So
I can never get over saying that shit.
Yes, okay. Let's go.
But kudos on the first black painters or whatever the fuck they were. They were some kind of milestone. And I'm not taking that away from them just because I didn't happen to like the painting. Still respect out there.
Definitely. So yesterday morning, in I forget where in Florida.
Parkland.
Is that where it's Parkland, Florida?
I think it was
Parkland, Florida. A former student who was kicked out of school decided to pull a fire alarm, and as students came out the building, started mowing them down. 17 have been confirmed killed, unfortunately. I don't think they've given a report on like other casualties, but he was quickly arrested. He admitted to the crime, and there's details that are continually coming out, such as the FBI were warned by someone who, a YouTuber who took his comments and gave him to the FBI to investigate, and I guess they didn't think he was being serious. They must have looked at it as internet chatter.
I will say, before you go, like, just emotionally, that story was a little hard to deal with, so I haven't been paying too much attention. Plus, it's brand new. It just happened like fucking yesterday. So what you just said was news to me.
Yeah.
We keep talking about how everybody should have told the police and told them to told this and that. I'm not convinced that it's obvious that that guy's a problem. Like, I haven't looked at his social media presence like a lot of people have, but you see people like this on social media sometimes where they're just like flashing around guns, talking shit. Like, my first instinct if I saw them would probably be like, well, they think they're cool. They think they have a gun fetish, which like half the country does. So that wouldn't strike me as all that odd. I mean, it would strike me as odd, but not like fear for my life odd.
No, people have always brandished guns thinking it's the fly thing. I mean, there's plenty of hip hop artists who've never fired a gun in their lives, and they're adorned by weaponry on their album covers or in their videos and things like that. It's a part of this culture. It's a sick part of American culture. This attraction and love of guns and the prowess that they hold in our society. So yeah, I can see how some people might ignore some of the signs.
I'm not saying you should, by the way. It's just I saw a lot of, I don't want to say it was like blaming those victims or whatever, but this whole idea like, well, they should tell the police. Why isn't anybody talking about it? I really think culturally it's not as strange as you seem to think it is. Just, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say I'm so used to seeing that, but I've seen it enough times where, like you said, we brandish guns. We see it as like cool and shit. Like I just said, half the country has a bit of a gun fetish. I don't agree with the people who are going so hard on this. you know, you need to speak up and tell people, and kind of like blaming them. Like, it's not as obvious as you keep making it seem.
No, it's not. It's a crazy thing, but so of course the reaction to this situation has been standard.
Predictable.
Lots of thoughts and prayers and stuff like that. You know, looking at some of the tweets, of course, our president, my prayers and condolences to the family of the victims of the terrible Florida shooting. No child, teacher, or anyone else should ever feel unsafe in an American school. He also had a speech this morning where he declared that he was going to make it a priority to beef up security basically in school and make it more safer for kids to go to school. Now, here's something, I don't know if you have actually heard this. Ann Navarro tweeted how she was watching a couple of students talk, and one of the students mentioned how, well, once the firing started, we kind of all knew what to do because we've had training and how to respond if there's a school shooting. And I agree with Ann Navarro. It's sad that we live in a country where now a part of school safety regulations is to teach kids how to respond to someone coming in and trying to take their lives with a gun. That is a very creepy thing. Like, I could never imagine going to school. Like, we worried about, like, when I was in Georgia, possibility of hurricanes, things like that, occasional tornadoes. We worried about fire drills, of course. You know, if there's a fire, everybody orderly fashion exit the building,
Sure,
get away, stuff like that. Never once did the thought occur to me that I could be going to home ec class and get a bullet and have to know how to respond if bullets start flying in my school. That really bothered me, and that made me really, really sad when I saw that, because it's just like, this is the culture, this is the lifestyle that we've built for our society.
I'm gonna have some difficulty getting out of that because, you know, the first thing you said was just this type of response is somewhat typical, this cycle we have with this sort of thing. But you know, when these big social things come up, I sometimes I write like a long ass thing to respond to it. And I had started writing about this, and I just like stopped and just deleted everything because I was just overcome in that moment. Like what's the point of this? The second this happens, you have this significant portion of the country who's just going to start saying, guns don't kill people, people kill people, which is a non sequitur, of course. They're going to start pointing this out as a mental health thing, which I'm sure some portion of it is, but we're not doing shit about mental health either. So what's the point of saying that? Just, they're strongly tied to certain ideas that are just not tenable, and they're unshakable. They get offended if you even start bringing up guns as being part of the problem.
Yeah, Paul Ryan, one of his comments, like, it's too soon to be talking about that, and we shouldn't be focused on the issue of gun laws and things like that. That was part of his comments today, and it's like, dude, you're right. We shouldn't be just focusing on gun laws today. We should have been focusing on them for a long time ago. And someone else made up a good point. I forget which Democratic representative brought it up, but he was like, do you realize between the years of 2000, I think it was 2004 and 2011, assault rifles were banned from purchase? Yeah. Think about that. We've actually done a ban on these weapons that are being used, because if you look back in all the more recent shootings, in just about every school shooting, it's always been every school shooting, the shooting in Las Vegas, other shootings in malls and things like that. It's always been assault rifles. Assault rifles somehow getting into the hands of these people. Which, why do you need AR-15s? Why do you need assault rifles? Again, it's not a hunting weapon. So don't give me that I need it for hunting bullshit. There are specific hunting rifles, so I don't know why people like to throw that out. No, this weapon was made to kill quickly, kill efficiently.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the ban, because there seems to be this misconception about the freedom to bear arms. Like, it's not unprecedented in this country to ban certain kind of weaponry at all. They seem to think you could like just walk up and buy a tank or like bombs and shit. Like, it is untrue if you think that there aren't types of weapons that are already or have already been banned. That's just not true. So you don't have pure freedom to buy whatever kind of weapons you want.
Nor should you. No,
you shouldn't. But some people seem to think that they have that right and it's being taken away. You never had it. So,
and I don't understand why that is always that fearful reaction to when people say that we need common sense gun laws. I don't think that, they're actually thinking about what people are trying to say. What people are trying to say basically is, look, we need to put forth a bunch of laws in which people, if you want to have a weapon, fine, but there should only be limits. There should be limitations to it. There should be rules and regulations that should be stringently. It's just like I also saw in the midst of the shooting, they came out with the news that, remember that guy, the Air Force, who was in the Air Force who shot up the church? It wasn't that long ago, but in Texas, there was a former Air Force guy who shot up a church and killed 11 people. And he wasn't actually vetted and put on the FBI watch list for purchasing guns like the military should. After that incident, it came out now that immediately, I believe over 1,700 or 17,000. I forget the exact number, but they put a ton of people on that list because they had been that laxed in actually sending the information to the FBI. There should be a penalty. They should, if you I'm serious. If you don't follow that rule, you should be penalized some way. Just everybody. If you're a gun store and you sell one of those types of guns irresponsibly, it should be penalized. Gun shows should be regulated much more heavily. I don't care about, how difficult it's going to make them sell a goddamn gun. Guns shouldn't be easy to be gotten to begin with. It's just like you want to put up all these laws to make drugs hard, to get. I understand that. Why can't you do the same with guns? What is it about a gun that you feel like you shouldn't be so stringent in how you set up your laws and regulations and rules? It makes no sense.
It's an extreme problem with our ideology, and that's why I just stopped typing out whatever I was writing, because before even talking about that, we have to get around the fact that some people are locked into this state of thinking where they're just going to defend, quote, gun rights no matter what. And we need to acknowledge that these people they're ready to react to any attack on the idea of gun freedoms, all that shit. Any notion of regulations, they're already primed and ready to start throwing out counter arguments and fighting about it. Like, it's a major issue that I don't think we do a good enough job of addressing. We always talk about why we aren't getting further with this issue, because a good portion of the country doesn't want to. They don't see the gun as being the problem. They say, well, it's too soon to start talking about guns, which is, I feel like we need to point out how disgusting that argument is when they say you need to give these families time to grieve before you start talking about gun laws and shit. You say that every time, and you just do that. You use the pain of those families as an excuse to avoid talking about the problem. And that's disgusting. You're using their sadness to get away from the important issue. It's disgusting, and we don't point it out as being disgusting often enough.
No, we don't, because going back to the guns don't kill people, people kill people. I hate that statement. I hate the whole, well, why don't we ban cars? Because people run over people with cars, so let's ban cars. Like, stop being stupid. Stop saying these stupid things that make no goddamn sense at all. A car and a gun don't equate. A car wasn't made to murder a person. If a person decides to run over a person purposely with a car, that person wanted to use that as his weapon of choice. But its intent was never to be weaponized. It's just like I can stab you in the neck with a pencil, even though a pencil is intended to write. Sure, people can weaponize things, but what was the purpose of a gun? A gun is issued to kill.
I mean, even beyond that, it's uniquely good at killing. It's,
yeah,
you know, to your design point, yes, I can kill you with a pencil, but I can kill you a lot easier with a gun, and I can kill more people before they get stuck. If I went into a room full of people with a pencil, they would probably be more emboldened to try to stop me than if I walked in with an AK, with an assault rifle, whatever kind. But this guns don't kill people, people kill people thing. I said earlier it's a non sequitur because the people who want to put regulations on guns obviously don't think that guns literally get up, do a song and dance, and then kill people. Obviously, nobody fucking thinks that. So who are you? Who is this counter argument meant for? It's not meant for anybody. Nobody makes the argument that guns themselves kill people. In fact, they agree with you that people kill people. Their point is that guns make it easier for those people to kill people.
Yeah, so let's limit the access. Like a handgun can still kill people, right? But a handgun carries less ammunition and is less accurate in killing a large area of people. You don't need to be accurate with the AR-15. You can just spray and mow down a room full of people with that without even looking. You can literally close. It's a gun that you can literally close your eyes and point and spray around the room and probably take out the majority of that room. You don't want to give people the ability to kill as many. I mean, do I think that we shouldn't be allowed to carry guns? Sure, because I don't understand the need to have a gun. That whole rights to bear arm thing came during a time where, you know, we were in a more hostile environment where you had things to worry about, and you had the idea of militia where, you know, they were doing conscription still. We don't have that. We have a standing military. We have a standing police force. We have plenty of law enforcement agencies with plenty of guns that are put forth to protect us, so that the common citizens shouldn't need to personally carry a gun.
And some people try to make the argument that we need them for defense against the military, essentially, or the police state. Just, we have this standing authority force, and if they ever went at us, we would need something to defend ourselves. It's a stupid argument. I mean, if you think you can defend yourself against that, you don't seem to understand how advanced military technology is. You're not going to stop. If the military wanted to come in and kill you, you're not going to stop them with your rifle. Sorry. It's just not going to happen.
You'll be able to shoot. I guess they figure you'll be able to shoot, but I don't know. It's
an argument I hear every so often, and it's just like, even if I let you have every gun you want, you're not going to stop them. I guarantee you. That is a pipe dream. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is. And the fact that you fear that brings into question like how you look at one, how you look at the government, and two, makes me wonder if you need some mental health help, because
I mean, if you want to talk about some limit on that power, fine. But
yeah,
the point is that even if we have a responsible conversation about that issue, you having an assault rifle is not going to stop it. So it's a moot point to begin with.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I hate also the argument of, if I had my gun on the scene, this wouldn't have happened. No. It's like, I feel like that's part of Trump's plan, is to try to weaponize security in school. And no, having a security guard in there with a pistol, or having a couple with a couple of semi-automatic weapons, isn't going to do anything, because what if they hit victims in trying to take this guy down?
Plus, you know, people say that, and they don't seem to understand that you need, or at least you should have, training with that kind of weaponry. But one of the problems in this country is that the bar to get weaponry is so low that you have people who are incompetent with weaponry gaining access to weaponry. They don't know how to use guns properly. They don't know how to store guns properly, so their kids, find their guns and shoot themselves or their friends or their parents or whatever. We have a lot of gun just accidents in this country because it's not like you need some extreme level of training. Maybe in some places their restrictions are a bit tighter, but largely, I mean, you don't need to be all that good with a gun or practice or be taught or go through any kind of training in a lot of cases to just have one. And that's part of the problem. So this idea that we're going to arm a bunch of civilians who can't fucking shoot is just stupid.
Yeah, I never got that attitude. Like,
that's one of my ideas with gun regulation is we should at least have people who at least know how to use the guns and know how to safely store them and all the responsible shit. At least that much. That seems like a cultural practice we should embrace. The NRA used to claim to embrace that, didn't they? Like they were all safety,
that's the thing that weirds me out about the NRA. It's so weird to me out. It's like the voice of proper gun use doesn't want proper gun laws.
Well, I'm sure they're getting money from that type of thing too, but so they have bad incentives, but just foundationally, there are many irrational arguments surrounding this issue. The government just doesn't want to come and take all your guns and take your right to weaponry away. So stop making that point. Stop reflexively making the argument that it's not the guns, it's the people. They're not mutually exclusive things. It's not one or the other. So I don't know why you feel the need to put this wall up and stand on one particular side of that. Stop throwing out the idea that it's a mental health issue. Part of it is, and we should address that. And while we address that, maybe we shouldn't have people with mental health issues have fucking guns.
Yeah, again, with the Air Force being dumb enough not to put these people on the list. It's a part, even if when you think about the mental health issue, that's a part of the gun regulations that is not being addressed either. Because we've seen several times where people who shouldn't have been given guns because of their mental, their mental problems have been able to do so because no one checked the list or nobody properly vetted them. The gun laws are fucking stupid. They're broken. They need to be addressed. They need to be fixed accordingly. And we need to stop throwing it, to the wayside with stupid sayings like guns don't kill people and stop, glossing over the situation with thoughts and prayers and all of that. Fucking address it, please, for the love of God.
And there's one point that people bring up quite often that seems to get ignored. This idea that of the developed nations, we uniquely have a problem with guns. This is a problem in general. When we compare ourselves to other countries, there's always these fucking excuses. Well, of course they don't have a problem with guns, blah, blah, blah. What was the number that I heard earlier? We have like 41% of the guns in the world or something, even though our global population is like a much smaller fraction than that. We have an overwhelming portion of the guns on Earth for some reason in this country. I know a few decades ago it became fashionable for people to have more than one gun and have like a shit ton of them. So that's probably part of the issue here. Is culturally it became sexy to have a shit ton of guns. I remember when I was growing up, I had a friend and his dad had like a rack of like 14 guns. So that's increasingly popular.
Yeah, I heard Germany was brought up as like one of the prime examples of a major country that has like far less gun deaths than we do. It's oddly enough, I also heard a story that at least 100 people a year die from some weird strange sexual act in Germany as well.
That was crazy.
Yeah,
but yeah, people ignore that argument all the time when we are compared to other countries in terms of healthcare and education and gun violence and incarceration rates and all that shit. We are not leading. in a lot of those categories. I mean, I guess we're leading in terms of gun violence and incarceration, but you know what I mean? Like,
no,
comparatively, we're not doing as good as a lot of people seem to think. And whenever that's brought up, they seem to ignore that completely, as though it's not weird that America isn't in top standing in some of these issues. That's not great. And they're proving at least that you can do well with these kind of issues.
Yeah, like I pulled up this article from a couple of years ago where they talk about German gun laws. And at the time, in 2015, we averaged 3.5 deaths per 100,000 people by firearm homicide. In comparison, Germany average reaches around 0.07 deaths per 100,000 people due to firearm homicide.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge number. That's a huge difference. They dropped from 783 gun homicides in 1995 to 130 in 2015. There are major cities in the United States that eclipse that 83 a year death total, like in months. Chicago damn near did that in half of a year last year, in fact.
And I will grant, this is the argument a lot of people make, that America is different from those countries in the sense that, you know, enforcing certain gun things are kind of hard because we already have a shit ton of guns out there in circulation, you know, not tracked, not without the proper paperwork. Let's say there's already a lot of guns out there in this country to deal with currently. So yes, we can put regulations on new guns being sold, but we already have the problem of the shit ton that already exists. I will grant you that, but that's not an excuse to not do something about it. I will grant you that our situation is unique, but not impossible. And again, the fact that all these other countries can seem to do shit that we can't should embarrass you as an American. Unacceptable.
Yeah, because try. Again, the German thing. They tried. And look what happens when you actually try. You can do it if you really want to. That's the problem. Nobody really wants to do anything about it. It's like, it's this weird, like, family secret where you know someone is doing something they shouldn't be in the family, but nobody wants to talk about it and let it keep riding until it keeps getting worse and worse. And it's just like, you just keep acting like it's not happening. And it's like, it is happening, and it continues to happen, and it continues to grow worse because we've had 29 shootings, I think, over the last year, I think they said.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fucking public shootings.
It's not fucking great. Not great at all. And I will say, I think probably the majority of the deaths.
I'm sorry. Not 29 in the last year. 29 since the beginning of the year.
Oh, okay. Of which year? 2017?
2018.
Alrighty. Well, there you go.
It is just fucking February 15th, people. And we've had 29 shootings in this country. Really let that sink in. And you want to say that there's not a gun fucking problem and that there doesn't need to be something seriously done about gun regulation?
So, like I was about to say, I think a lot of the gun deaths in this country are probably just with handguns in the house and shit like that. But, you know, you see a lot of these more, these shootings that take a lot of more media attention with these automatic weaponry. It seems insane that we can't at least agree to deal with that. Like regular house gun regulations, handgun regulation stuff, I can see that being a little bit more difficult, but like automatic weaponry is hard to deal with. This is like the fucking immigration issue all over again. No matter how much we agree on that, for some reason we can't seem to get anything done with it. Same thing with this. We could argue about handguns in the home all we want, but at least AK-15s not being available to 18-year-olds or whatever the fuck he was, I would think we could at least agree on that. Like some of this should just be low-hanging fruit for us to pick, right? Some of these should just be easy, no argument problems.
Yeah, no, they make it seem way harder than it needs to be. Like, again, if you need to own a handgun, you feel like you need one for protection, okay, cool. I'm not keen on the gun collecting thing, so we're gonna have to have like some serious conversation for you to like convince me why you need to have a certain like array of guns in your house.
Oh, carefully try to tell them how many guns they can have.
Right. I'm not big on hunting, but I do understand hunting. I do understand a lot of people like to hunt, especially there are still people out there who hunt for food purposes. Like they like to have fresh meat and stuff like that. So, some hunting, I'm just like, yeah, y'all just want to put a goddamn animal's head in your house and say, hey, look how I killed this defenseless animal with my fucking, high powered rifle. Okay.
We have more of a problem with the recreational hunting, yeah.
Huh? Yeah, I don't, and it's only because I don't understand the thrill of just murdering an animal. Like, okay, how's that cool? But at the same time, if you want to do it, I'm not like dead set, like, waving a sign to ban you from that. That's fine. As long as you do it within the rules. Okay.
I think I'd be more harsh on
it. It's just, I don't, it's kind of like one of those things. It's like the sex dolls. I find it very strange that you find enjoyment from this thing, but if you put an oil on a sex doll.
But I think the difference with the sex doll is it's inanimate. It's not feeling any pain or suffering, whereas an animal is. But I only say that to say this. Like you, I'm a little bit hesitant around some parts of the gun issue do warrant debate. Some of them are not clear. I can see one or two sides of certain parts of that issue. Not the AK-15 one.
Yeah.
That is outside of the threshold of I don't know. That seems like way off in obvious land.
Yeah. Okay. It's like with the hunting thing. I know part of the argument for recreational hunting is kind of like population control, which I could kind of see because there sometimes get like areas that get really overran with wildlife, and you kind of want to keep it. I mean, again, I'm not 100% behind that, but I can understand that argument.
Fair enough.
At least you can give me you can at least give me a sort of understandable argument. No one has ever been able to give me an understandable argument as to why you need an assault rifle. It's funny too, because just take me back to the last big shooting, where I remember this rapper that I followed tried to make the excuse that there's no such thing as an assault rifle or a hunting rifle. They're all rifles, and it's like, no. There is classifications of weapons, just like it's not just a handgun, or not every gun that you just fit in your hand is a handgun. There are different classifications of handguns, and so let's not be stupid. It's one of those stupid arguments that people like to make, try to gloss over the thing. No, there are levels to this thing, and we all know there are levels to this thing.
I assume we all know. I do think one of the issues, especially for those of us who are more against gun stuff, is a lack of knowledge about guns. Because the way that rapper talks, it makes me think that he just doesn't know enough about guns in general.
Yeah.
So I think there's an educational issue there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's a part of it's one of those conversations that we need to be having in this country, and nobody really wants to have a conversation about. It's just like almost every major issue in this country. No one wants to seriously sit down and actually think these things through and come up with a real solution. Everybody just wants to stand in these weird cones of opinion.
And like I said, it becomes reflexive. The second, you see these videos showing up on YouTube about this story, I remember looking at like the like versus dislike count, and sure enough, it's about half. Every time you go down into the comments, you can already predict what the arguments are going to be every time. It's not the guns, it's the people, blah, blah, blah. It's predictable because they're not thinking about it. They've already made up their minds. and then they're just ready to go with the stop trying to take our gun shit instinctively, right off the bat. There's no thought to it at all.
No, there's none whatsoever. And it really bothers me. And my sympathies to the families out there for real, because the fucking have to be given the phone call that your son or daughter just got mowed down by some like crazy kid. I can't imagine receiving any type of news like that. I would fucking like knowing that hearing my mom had terminal cancer. That was fucking jeez. But to just like somebody call me, it's like, Mike, your mom just got killed at the hospital because some guy came in and shot up everybody. I think that would bother me more. I don't know. It
goes to why we need to have these conversations. Because if I'm a parent and my kid just died from some other kid who somehow gained access to that kind of weapon, I can't imagine how frustrating that is to watch for the last couple of decades, the way we've been dealing with gun violence, or rather not been dealing with gun violence. And you're probably thinking to yourself, like, if we at least tried to deal with this fucking issue, would my kids still be here?
Yeah.
I can't imagine how maddening that probably is for some of those parents, just assuming they've been in this country long enough, like the way we just completely ignore it all the time, go through this cycle that everybody keeps pointing out, nothing changes, and now my kid's gone because we just didn't do anything, and we're probably not going to do anything. So
no. Yeah, it's just fucking.
I point out that I know I keep bringing up that guns don't kill people, kill people thing. The reason I bring it up is because I blame that catchphrase as part of the reason we never get anywhere on this issue, because the main argument people use when you really break it down is objectively irrational. It's a useless argument in an objective sense, and yet I think that's what makes it powerful, because it's essentially not saying anything useful. It's just used to kind of shut down the argument, because yes, obviously people are killing people. It's not an incorrect statement. It's just a pointless one. And because it's not technically incorrect, people can get away with using it, not really having a conversation. It was like the all lives matter thing. Yes, all lives matter. But that's not really the point, is it?
Right.
I don't know what it is with that side of the political spectrum. They just seem to always have like a catchphrase ready that just disrupts any useful conversation possible.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so we're going through this. We're gonna go through this whole like bullshit where they're gonna blame each other about saying things, and it's sad because the Republicans, the tactic of why do you want to politicize this thing is just so irritating, because it's a political issue. Gun laws and gun regulations. We're not politicizing it. It is a political issue, because who is going to fix this? You are politicians.
Who was removing the regulations on those weapons in the first place?
Right. and it's funny because Joy Reid tweeted this morning. She was like, remember, 2 months into his presidency, Trump reversed the strict gun laws that Obama put in place. And look where we are now, 29 killings in less than a year.
Yeah.
Not to go with how many were last year, because who knows what the number was last year. So, good job, sir.
Yeah, but
making America great again.
It definitely is a political issue. And again, when do we talk about it? During that part of the cycle where we're not thinking about it anymore? That's just stupid. Of course we should talk about it now when we're all thinking about it.
Yeah, take care of it immediately, please. Well, all right.
Especially in this political climate where there's a fucking catastrophe in the White House every 5 minutes. You've got to be kidding me that you want to put shit off. You have to deal with everything immediately, because if you don't, by the next week, you'll have 10 scandals on your plate to chew down. Good God.
Yeah, ridiculous. All right, so I think that's going to wrap it up. Like I said, we're trying to keep it short because I have something to attend to, unfortunately, that I don't want to, but I will because I'm a nice guy. But before we go, first, I need to make an announcement. Finally, you will start to see the Reason Reborn on podcast. I don't have my camera on because I haven't been feeling good, but I think it's kind of apropos that I don't, because to get used to not having to see our faces if you want to listen to the podcast.
That's a privilege. You don't have to see this ugly face of mine.
Exactly. We're giving you choices out here in life. We now have a Podbean channel, which I will put in the description. I haven't uploaded anything yet, but within the next couple of days over the weekend, I will be uploading every episode of The Reason Reborn, so you can go back and listen to those, and you'll be able to catch other episodes of different podcasts that we've done as well coming after that. Plus, you'll be seeing some new stuff coming from those other podcasts pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. But yes, finally, we have our pod site. It will be distributed from Podbean, and it will also be sent through RSS feed through iTunes and Google Play Music, so you can catch it in those two areas as well. So if you want, if you have a specific place you like to go to for podcasts, we have those. But I do recommend you go to Podbean, because Podbean is a very good platform for podcasts. They have a lot of wonderful podcasts that you can catch also that'll be in the same genre as the stuff that we do. So you'll be able to find things that relate more to what you like to listen to as well. So definitely check that out and look for more information on that as soon as possible. Anything else you wanted to say to close things out?
I guess on a positive note, I just noticed that I got my refund thing, so I'm going to be
shit now
ordering a PS4 probably after this. I was just right before we started, I was looking up to see if there's any PS4 shit I needed to know before I just click buy on one of them. But I assume before the night ends.
You have me. You can ask me. I'll have a few minutes after the podcast if you have any questions. But PlayStation.
Yeah.
And Cardiac Sumo. No, it doesn't do that. But it would be cool if it does. It would be kind of cool if you can add friends. Actually, I've never tried to add friends.
I actually think my name there is Cardiac Sumo, because my name across like all things is generally Cardiac Sumo. So I probably do have a PSN account that is Cardiac Sumo.
Yeah, and I'm going to investigate if it does give me the voice command to add people.
But yes, I'm after pretty much the whole last generation, really, I'm coming back to being part of the console life. Super hyped.
Cool. You can go back and forth like I do. Have a good time. You can play God of War. You can play Persona 5. Definitely. Damn. I wish there was a way that I could gift you some of these games that I have, because there's a lot of stuff that you
I'm about to be incredibly unproductive. So something gits happening in the world, because normally when I'm productive, bad stuff happens. So
it's fine. It's fine. You deserve it. Treat yourself. Treat yourself. All right. So that's going to do it for this episode. Again, thank you to everybody who listened. We appreciate it. Keep on listening, share, like, favorite, all that good stuff. Tell your friends about it and all that. And that's going to do it. So I didn't give you a wonderful introduction in the beginning of the show. So I am going to leave with thank you to my splendiferous co-host, Cardiac Sumo.
That's a fucking word.
Don King said it. It is splendiferous. Okay, look it up. It's not a word, but it works. Any closing remarks, sir?
I don't want to talk to you anymore. I found that fucking word that I don't like. That it showed up in Merriam-Webster's fucking website.
It's a website. God damn it, Dog King, you made that a word. Yes, splendiferous. What is the definition?
It's fuck you. I'm not reading shit to you.
And that's a good note to end. So thank you everybody again, and we'll see you next time on the Reason Reborn. Deuces.